Welcome to Monday Musings with the Blended Mama, gentle encouragement for busy women finding calm in the chaos. I'm Teresa, and this is a quiet place to pause at the start of your week. No pressure, no productivity lecture, just a few minutes of perspective and one small step you can carry into the days ahead. I'm really glad you're here. Today, I want to give you a single question. It's simple, but if you actually use it, it can change how your days feel. So here is the magic question. What can I do now to make my life easier later? I first heard this phrased inside The Lazy Genius Way by Kendra Adachi, which we're reading in book club this quarter, and it really stuck with me immediately. Frankly, the whole book did. It's such a good book. Um, but this particular concept really just stuck with me because it's not overly dramatic, right? It's not about overhauling your life. It's not about fixing everything. It's not even about solving the next 6 months. It's just, what can I do now that future me will thank me for? And if you want to simplify it even more, it's what is one thing I can do now, right? Not 10, but one. And there are definitely times, if I'm being honest, that I don't do this well. I tend to put off some small tasks, right? I'll leave a small mess on my desk and I frankly let the pile grow a bit, especially like as I'm transitioning between my day job and then all my planning stuff on the side and, literally just, spinning in my chair from one desk to the other. And sometimes it's easier to just leave that work pile and switch over to the other instead of making it a nice clean desk, right? So I'm setting something down for now instead of just taking 5 seconds to put it away. And that is especially true for my planning supplies. So stickers and washi tape, highlighters, fun pens, markers, journal cards, die cuts, fussy cutting scissors, all the things, right? They end up living in this little layered chaos beneath my planner. And then later, when I want to use them, I can't actually find what I need. And I know I just saw it, right? That moment, that spike of frustration, that's the past me making life harder for the present me. So recently I made a small change in my office. So I put all of my frequently used planning supplies on my craft cart in my office. Now I have also recently been trying to pare down all my crafty stuff to the stuff that I actually use. So I had just cleaned off the cart and it was just sitting in the back of my office because I didn't have a use for it. So I repurposed it and now there's things that I'm using all the time. They have a place. And when I'm done using it, I put it back on the cart instead of leaving it on the desk underneath all the things. And I know that can sound tiny, but that mental clarity that I've been able to get just from removing the physical clutter has been huge. I can find things, I actually use things again. My desk feels calmer, my brain feels calmer, and that is the magic question in action. It's not a total office makeover. If you see my office, it definitely still looks like somebody needs to come in and clean it out. But it was just one decision. Put it back now so I don't have to hunt for it later. So this question shows up in other places in my life too, like laying out my clothes the night before. That used to feel totally unnecessary. Thank you, perimenopause, for making it feel totally necessary. So when my clothes are set aside in the morning me doesn't have to think. She just has to get dressed. Putting all my vitamins together near my tea station instead of having to hunt them down in who knows where I set them down whenever I got them. They live where I already am. So when I finish my first cup of tea, I go ahead and I take my supplements. That's it. It's not a wellness overhaul. It's just fewer decisions, fewer moments of friction. And that friction, even the tiny kind, is what adds up. Now, this question also shows up in my business rhythms. You've heard me talk about planning on Friday for Monday. That's one version of it, but it also shows up in how I plan content for all of my social media channels. So instead of scrambling week by week, I really do try to sit down once a month and kind of map out the big picture. What do I want to talk about? What am I going to talk about on my blog? What are we going to talk about here in Monday Musings? What am I going to focus on each week? How is all of this going to flow? I don't build everything to perfection in one sitting, but I create the skeleton because having a few, well, sometimes a few, sometimes a couple, whatever. A few focused hours gives me cohesion. It gives me clarity that I never really got whenever I was doing like this piecemeal planning, right? So the future me isn't waking up every week thinking, what are we even talking about right now? And that is the difference this question can make. Now, here's where we have to be a little careful. The magic question is, what can I do, what can I do now to make my life easier later? Not what can I do now to exhaust myself trying to control the future, right? Sometimes we hear a good idea and we overdo it. We try to pre-solve everything, pre-plan everything, pre-decide everything, and suddenly we're tired and nothing feels easier. So this question works best when you baby step it. What's that one thing that I can do now? Not 10, just one. So maybe that's washing the pan now instead of letting it sit in the sink. Maybe it's laying out tomorrow's clothes before bed, like I do. Maybe it's putting your vitamins where you will actually see them and actually take them. Perhaps it's writing the next action instead of just the next big goal, or cleaning one pile on your desk. Maybe even sending the email you've been thinking about. Just one thing. And then later you can ask the question again, right? It ties back to decide once and it ties back to start small, things we've already talked about this month. You don't have to fix everything today. You just have to stop making tomorrow harder. When I don't make life easier later, I feel it as overwhelm. Anxiety, clutter, frustration, that feeling of why is everything harder than it needs to be? But when I do take the small step, I feel calmer, clearer, more capable, and more present because I'm not constantly putting out little fires created by yesterday's procrastination. And presence, not perfection, is what actually changes our days. So here's your reflection for this week. Where are you making tomorrow harder than it needs to be? And what is one thing you could do today to change that? Not to control the future, but to care for it. Make life a little easier for future you. If this encouraged you, I'd love for you to follow the podcast so these Monday Musings can meet you right where you are each week. You'll find links in the show notes to our free online community, information about upcoming book clubs, and any planning resources I might have mentioned. And if you'd like a little extra encouragement in your inbox, you can join my email list there as well. Until next time, friend, be gentle with yourself, choose one small step, and make life a little easier for future you. I'll be back next Monday.